Is it acceptable for someone to create a documentary about you without your approval? How would you feel if it happened to you?
It's like,
Definitely not acceptable. It's facetious and petty.
right, it's like somebody putting out your sex tape.
Yeah, if you want to make it, yeah, exactly.
It's like,
Without your permission.
And you're not an actual porno star.
And they do it.
the lighting wasn't good or nothing.
Yeah, they're
It's
trying to
like,
make you just look bad. Oh, they caught me on a bad day. I wasn't even on my shit. This thing caught a weak one.
you see
Damn.
that the lighting is dark?
Damn.
You see that the lighting is dark?
Could be looking small
Still
out
put this
here.
on the internet?
Word up.
But I would
I ain't
feel,
gonna front. I think
I feel messed up.
if they saluting you,
First of all, they want somebody doing a documentary about you. You want it to be a dope documentary.
It gotta be dope.
Showing who you are, what you've done,
Put out no bullshit
everything
on
you've
it.
accomplished. Like, a documentary is a big thing. Like, you don't want nobody doing a documentary about some like trying to just make your whole character look weak. Like, that's petty behavior.
And definitely, we have to go shopping and all that, you know what I'm saying?
Say, what's this I hear about y'all with the cartwheels?
Nothing, you know, it's just like we got a cartwheel fetish. Wherever you go, we break dance and do cartwheels.
Cartwheel?
Cartwheels.
Who got a cartwheel for me?
It's like an actual 360-degree spin if you're not from the site for culture.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Well, we gonna get the cartwheels going. All
right, bet.
Jimmy, let me see your car. Let me see what's going on. It's my man. One hand joint. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's all right. You see your next joint.
Calling Jim Jones right now. This bitch ain't answering. We go back to the gym right now. Right now. You know I just left the gym. We go back to the gym right now. I smoke. Pick up your FaceTime, bitch. Where you at? You hollering is ducking from Queens.
Jim Jones has officially hit what looks like rock bottom right now. It's honestly hard to understand how he's logging online like everything normal with all this circling around him. For some wild reason, he thought it was a smart idea to spark tension with 50 Cent. And once you poke 50, you better be ready for layers. Now it's looking like 50 got Jim in the checkmate corner boxed in from every angle. This escalated fast. 1 minute it's slick podcast commentary, next minute it's real life consequences knocking. And the optics? They're not clean at all. Let's rewind so the timeline makes sense. Jim and his co-host started speaking on 50 producing a documentary about Sean Diddy Combs. They weren't rocking with it. The tone was spicy. The shade was obvious. They made it seem like 50 was stepping out of bounds. Word traveled back like it always does. And you already know 50 doesn't let commentary breathe for too long. But instead of arguing online, he reportedly switched lanes. He moved behind the curtain. Quiet. Strategic. Allegedly, 50 reached out to the landlord of the building where Jim was operating. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. The landlord and Jim were already at odds before 50 even called. There was tension brewing over money and paperwork. Then came that phone call that changed everything. The landlord supposedly started breaking down the situation piece by piece, saying a lease was never fully locked in, complaints about build-out terms, talking about requests for months of free construction time that didn't sit right. It gets deeper. The landlord allegedly claimed there was some kind of partnership agreement tied to the media operations in that space. Half of what was being built was supposedly connected to them. But according to the landlord, there was no transparency on earnings, no clear reporting. Then the numbers hit. At minimum 80,000 owed, possibly 180,000. That's not internet rumor money. That's paperwork money. And once that figure started floating around, this whole situation shifted from podcast talk to financial pressure. Here's the wild twist. When 50 made that call, he allegedly didn't even know how bad the tension already was. The landlord was reportedly fed up, claiming serious back money was owed. So when 50 stepped in, the floodgates opened. Everything started spilling out. That's when this turned into real estate chess instead of rap debate. And through those conversations, 50 allegedly found out something else. The building Jim was filming in didn't even have proper heat running. Now imagine that narrative hitting the timeline. Because while all this was unfolding, Jim's still online projecting stability. Meanwhile, eviction talk circulating, back rent accusations spreading, and 50 sitting at the top of your Explorer page like, "Are you not entertained?" The move wasn't loud. It was calculated. And that's what makes it heavier. So Jim hops online and basically says, since everybody puts my business in the streets, I might as well speak on it myself. He claims is in the second phase of construction. Says it's not open to the public yet. Calls it a raw space. Says is still figuring out the exact vision, maybe building it into something like a small market or creative hub. Is painting it like progression, like growth, like expansion in motion. But at the same time, reports are saying the heat was allegedly shut off to pressure him out because eviction was already in motion. And the word floating around is that Jim Jones was still inside while removal efforts were happening. That's not a good look. Meanwhile, 50 Cent is sitting on all this information. And instead of staying silent, he starts letting pieces fly. Not screaming, not ranting, just calculated drops. And every time he posts, the narrative shifts a little more. Jim keeps going live, though, acting like everything's smooth, denying tension, suggesting him and the landlord are good, even hinting like it's basically his building. But once eviction rumors and the no-heat situation started circulating heavy, the optics changed fast. Then he drops a full building tour, walking through rooms, talking expansion plans, mentioning new production sections, upgrades, renovations, selling the image of a growing empire. But behind the scenes, reports claim the property owner is actively trying to get him out while construction is still happening. That contrast makes everything look chaotic. And this is where hustle culture gets exposed. Everybody wants to post the grind, show the cameras, show the raw space, show the vision boards. But not everybody wants to tighten up the paperwork first. Because building big in a space you're reportedly not cleared to occupy, that's when eyebrows go up. He launched something called the IFC Factory, marketed like a creative hub, a place for podcasts, photo shoots, content production. It's even listed online for around $65 an hour with a 2-hour minimum. On the surface, it looks structured, it looks official, it looks like motion. But here's the twist. Reports say all of this is happening while eviction efforts are still active behind the curtain. That's why critics calling it reckless. According to Chatter, the only reason he's been able to stay this long is because he has resources and understands how New York tenant laws can stretch timelines in court. That bought him breathing room. Still, if the property owner is pushing to remove him, building an empire mid-battle looks risky. And now things reportedly escalated again. 50 came out saying the eviction process has made progress. That the next step is enforcement, not conversation. Enforcement. An eviction notice was allegedly posted right on the door, addressed to IFC management, the company tied to the studio setup. That's when it stopped feeling like rumor and started feeling official. The notice reportedly named Joseph Jones through IFC management at that location. And this isn't some tiny office. The property spans multiple units, different floors, separate sections, a large setup with several addresses attached. First floor, second floor, multiple spaces connected. That makes the stakes even heavier. Now, after reviewing the paperwork details being discussed, it appears there are still legal steps left before anything is final. Court processes, enforcement stages, technical procedures. But the pressure? That part already visible. And once paperwork enters a chat, the conversation changes permanently. Things got even more chaotic when that clip surfaced. You hear voices, tension, somebody saying cut the knife off, confusion in the air. It didn't feel organized. It felt frantic. And that energy alone told people this wasn't just internet gossip anymore. This was pressure in real time. Reports say the landlord issued a formal notice of default. That basically means unpaid money is being claimed on paper. It's the warning shot before heavier enforcement steps begin. So while some progress may have happened behind the scenes, this situation isn't fully closed yet. The timeline being discussed is the first notice allegedly went out January 15th and expired January 22nd. Supposedly it wasn't resolved. Then a 5-day notice of termination was reportedly issued February 10th and expired February 17th. That's escalation. That's paperwork stacking up. From what's being explained, there could still be another legal phase before full enforcement kicks in. The next step would involve securing an official eviction order and possibly having it carried out by authorities. And if it ever reaches that stage, it turned from messy to a full public spectacle. Now here's where it gets even more intense. 50 Cent somehow obtained clips showing Jim Jones inside the building. Exactly how those clips were accessed hasn't been fully explained. Yes, There's talk of landlord connections, but people are saying there might be deeper layers behind the curtain. Either way, once that footage hit the internet, reactions exploded. In the clip 50 posted, it appears Jim is trying to access locker rooms inside the building. Some of those areas allegedly controlled the heat system that had been shut off. Doors reportedly locked by the property owner, and you can see attempts to get inside. Whether it was frustration or confusion, the optics didn't look strong. This wasn't boss energy. It didn't feel like expansion vibes. It felt tense. It felt uncertain. And that added another dramatic chapter to an already messy storyline. At one point, his associate walks into a room and starts flipping the light switch repeatedly, then calls out that the lights were cut. That moment alone shifted the tone. The room felt cold, awkward, not celebratory, not empire building, more like survival mode. And that's why people are questioning everything. Jim isn't some underground artist struggling to find his footing. He's established, connected, experienced. So critics are asking why even put yourself in this kind of position? Why not secure financing properly, lock in a clean deal, and build the studio from the ground up the right way? There were earlier reports floating around that roughly $180,000 was allegedly owed months back. If that number was accurate then, people are wondering what it looks like now. Because if the space isn't financially sustainable, walking away might protect the brand more than fighting publicly. Staying locked in a visible back and forth just generates more headlines, more pressure, more speculation, and nobody wants to see it spiral further, especially when cameras are catching every moment. There's no audio in the circulating clip, but you can read the frustration on Jim's face. He looks heated, moving fast, pacing, high energy, clearly trying to locate wherever the heat system was allegedly shut off so he could flip whatever needed flipping. That urgency tells a story by itself, and when you think back to that earlier building tour, it adds another layer. On camera, you could literally see his breath in the air. That usually means it's freezing inside. Viewers caught that detail immediately. Even during podcast episodes featuring guests like Fabulous and Dave East, everyone looks bundled up. Hoodies, heavy jackets, layered fits. The room never looks comfortable. And those visuals alone had the timeline talking heavy. The criticism online got ruthless. People saying, "You 50 years old dealing with eviction drama? That's sad. That's nasty work. You had decades in the game, supposedly prosperous runs, and now headlines about rent disputes?" The internet doesn't show mercy when optics look shaky. They even started calling out names, saying if you've been rapping 30 years like Fabulous and there's talk about unpaid space, that's embarrassing. Saying if you've built a whole brand like Jim Jones and still fighting building access at this stage, that's a bad visual. The commentary got harsh fast. Then the narrative shifted into life lessons. People online saying at 50 you're supposed to be relaxed. Feet up, investments locked in, kids taken care of, legacy secured, not arguing over doors and thermostats, not trending for property tension. That's how brutal the timeline got. In the latest footage circulating, Jim walks off visibly frustrated, waving people over. Energy high, but not in a celebratory way. It doesn't look smooth. It doesn't look controlled. Whether it's just a stressful day or real pressure stacking up, the optics feel heavy. From what viewers are saying, it looks like he's telling people to reset and try the door again. The room feels tense even without audio. You can see the breathing heavy, the pacing, the hair out of place. That's not flex energy. That's pressure energy. At one point, critics sarcastically joked about the right to squat, laughing at the situation like it's some twisted achievement. That's how cold social media can get. They flip serious issues into punchlines in seconds. Some critics are claiming this all spiraled because of image. The idea of having your own factory, your own creative hub, your own building sounds powerful. IFC Factory was marketed as that vision. A content space, a production studio, a movement. That's a strong flex when it's clean. But when paperwork and legal tension don't match the flex, that's when it turns messy. And it's not just about one person. There are reportedly other creators tied into that space. A talk show host running content there. Listings up for hourly rentals. Bookings connected to the location. If the building situation collapses, it doesn't just affect one brand. It impacts everyone tied to that address. That's real consequence. That's real disruption. And that's why people are watching this so closely. Now here's where it gets even more layered. Word is that 50 Cent built a direct relationship with the property owner, the same person allegedly providing updates and behind-the-scenes details. If that connection is solid, then 50 isn't just reacting online. He's informed in real time. There's even talk that the property owner allegedly gave 50 an ownership stake in the building. That's why 50 came out publicly saying the landlord is his partner and he owns a piece of the situation. If that's accurate, the entire dynamic shifts. Because now it's not commentary, it's business. At one point, 50 reportedly warned that any doors damaged would need to be fixed or there would be consequences. That's when it stopped sounding like jokes and started sounding like enforcement. If someone with ownership sees property being altered mid-dispute, that escalates quickly, and that's why this feels bigger than social media back and forth. It's not just rap tension. It's contracts. It's ownership stakes. It's legal timelines. And because a podcast platform connects multiple personalities, the ripple effects stretch beyond just 50 and Jim. The tension is layered now. Mono been in his own share of debates and clashes over the years, and in this game, energy travels. When you align yourself with certain people, you inherit certain smoke. That's just how it goes. And now some of that heat that was floating around is circling right back toward Jim Dones. Then DJ Academics jumped on live and started firing off. He was naming names. Jim, Mano, Dave East, Fabulous. Once streamers and media personalities grab a storyline, it spreads instantly. Now it's not just a building dispute. It's a full-blown online spectacle. And here's the part Jim really needs to clock. You can't joke your way out of this one. The first time Unpaid Rent and Squatter Talk popped up, they leaned into humor. Podcast episode full of squatter jokes, laugh tracks, false punchlines, trying to flip tension into comedy. But jokes only hit when there's no paperwork attached. Once receipts start floating. Once default notices and termination letters are being discussed publicly. Once timelines are being broken down date by date. The humor doesn't land the same. That's when the room gets quiet. If it's just rumors with zero proof, cool. Laugh it off. Spin it. Troll back. But when legal steps are being talked about openly, joking starts to feel uncomfortable. It feels defensive instead of confident. And that shift is noticeable. Now the situation feels heavier. People aren't just guessing anymore. They're connecting dots, looking at footage, matching dates, comparing statements. That's why this round feels different from the first wave. At first, some thought it was pure trolling, internet exaggeration, just 50 being 50. But now it's looking like actual tenant protections and legal timelines may have been leaned on to stay in the building longer. Whether that's strategic or survival, that's not just content. That's real life. And once real life mixes with online commentary, everything amplifies, especially when 50 Cent is involved. Because he doesn't just react. He calculates. And if ownership stakes and landlord partnerships are truly in play, that changes the entire board. So now I want to hear from you. What do you think this really is? A smart move that spiraled out of control? Or bad business from the very beginning? Was this ego, strategy, or just miscalculation? Drop your thought below. Let's talk about it. And if you rock with this breakdown, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share this video so it reaches more people. Appreciate everybody tapping in and supporting.